Washington, D.C. and most of the nation is quiet this time of year. The holidays are meant to be for rest and relaxation, but stress can make it a dangerous time. Medical reporter Lorie explains the risks and how we can protect ourselves.
While this time of year is meant to be merry, it can be the opposite for far too many people. That's led to a phenomenon that's become so pervasive, health experts have a name for it: holiday heart syndrome. They cite two main reasons: family stress and unhealthy eating, which sadly are far too common. People who experience excessive relationship anxiety or overindulge in foods loaded with fat, sugar, and salt can wind up in the hospital or worse.
It's not just an issue that holiday heart is a benign condition. It actually is a very potentially serious condition that causes people to develop heart failure symptoms.
Statistics show more people die from heart attacks between December 25th and New Year's Day than any other week of the year, with Christmas Day being the deadliest of all. And it's not just increased stress and unhealthy foods. Alcohol consumption tends to skyrocket during the holidays and can pose a threat, even to people with no known risk factors. For many, binge drinking leads to an irregular heartbeat, a condition commonly linked to an increased risk for stroke.
Certain people might be more predisposed to it, but you could have no history of any heart-related conditions and drink excessively or consume too much alcohol during the holidays, and you could create a situation where you develop atrial fibrillation, congestive heart failure, even in the absence of any pre-existing risk factors.
Not enough sleep can also do a number on the way our heart works. New research shows the average adult sleeps about 40 minutes less each night this time of year, and those who host holiday gatherings lose close to an hour and a half each day preparing to have guests in their home and during the stay. Heart doctors urge people to watch for warning signs like chest pains and shortness of breath. Plus, take it easy when it comes to stress, food, and booze.
Well, plenty of things to keep in mind and take into consideration. Lorie joins us now for more on this holiday heart. A lot of things to keep in mind, especially for older adults who need to get out of this blanketed snow that's really dropped on the nation. Tell us the do's and don'ts for the activity of shoveling snow.
Well, snow shoveling is extremely rigorous on the heart. Some studies have even compared it to running a 5K, Brody, believe it or not. And it doesn't really mean anything whether you're older or younger. Some 45-year-olds have the heart of a 70-year-old and some 70-year-olds have a heart of a 45-year-old. The main thing to keep in mind is your level of activity. How in shape are you? And it doesn't matter if you've shoveled snow in the last 10 years. It kind of matters how active were you this year. So think about in the summer. Were you at home sitting on the couch in the air conditioning, or were you out running and things like that? Snow is very heavy. So what we want to make sure, if we do definitely go out and shovel some snow, is to shovel as little as possible. So if you're in a snowstorm, go when there's a little bit of accumulation, shovel it. Go back when there's a little more, shovel it, and then a little bit more, rather than waiting until it's 2 feet deep.
That's great, Lorie, to keep in mind for heart health, but also our backs. Where aches and pains come along with this. A lot of people strain their backs during holiday activities. So what's the best way to actually avoid these injuries? What should people do to not hurt themselves?
Yeah, so back injuries are very common for snow shoveling, but also many other things that we do during the holidays. The main thing to remember to do is to bend at the knees. At the knees, not at the waist.
Yes.
And so if you do strain your back, which is very common, a lot of ER visits because of strained back, you want to ice it. Ice it 20 minutes, 4 times a day. And then also, believe it or not, Brody, you want to stretch it. A lot of people think that you need to stay still and rest, but that causes the muscle to tighten, so you want to stretch it. Do that downward dog motion or sit on the floor and try to touch your toes to keep that muscle stretched.
That's really good. Great things to keep in mind for sure. It's crazy. This is our favorite time of the year, but it could be potentially the most dangerous time of the year.
Absolutely.
Is there an age range to keep in mind, Lorie, when we're talking about holiday heart?
Well, you know, people who are older tend to have more heart problems, but it can happen to anyone. So that's something we need to keep in mind. There are some other things that we need to watch out for, specifically about the holidays: fires. So if you've got that Christmas tree and it's live, it's a good idea to get rid of it as soon as possible, because those things can really catch fire and cause problems.
Lorie Johnson, thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.